Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nur Timothy. Now I would like to explain about background of idealism. Where does the idealism came from? Idealism is a term with several related meanings. It derives from the word idea, which comes directly from Greek word idealismos. Idealism's origin in ancient philosophy Leibniz. Leibniz was the first philosopher to use the term idealism in a philosophical context by referring to Plato's philosophy. Although the term idealism is commonly used to refer to a time, the idealist philosophy has a considerably greater historical reach. Idealism also was originated with Plato's philosophy, which affirmed the presence of two worlds, which means the visible world refers to the process of being and the intelligible world. In reality, the vision of this supersensible truth characterized as the theory of ideas is the essential trait of Platonic philosophy for the second vision. Next, we will move on to the meaning of idealism. What is idealism? According to Collins Dictionary, idealism is the beliefs and behavior of someone who has ideals and who tries to base their behavior on these ideals. Idealism also can be defined as recognize ideas, feelings, and emphasize human development should be according to moral, ethical, and also spiritual values so that he acquires the knowledge. It also emphasizes the study of man more and more because man is endowed with higher intellectual powers and show greater level of intelligence and discrimination, and by his own moral and spiritual activities, he has great.
Hi, my name is Nofara Inabiti Muhammad Nazri, and I'll be explaining on the differences between idealism and also realism. I'll first go to idealism. Idealism is a concept on how the situation is supposed to be or should be. It is a concept where we seek for perfection in any situation that we are viewing at. It is a matter how a person viewed the situation as an ideal situation. This concept was brought by Plato, and he thinks that every person should have their own ideal situation that they need to think always. Those who believe in idealism is called as idealists, and idealists are always think positive on any situation that they are viewing at. In contrast to realism, realism is a situation where we look at the way it is, as matter it is. We view it as the actuality of the situation is, the reality of the situation it is, and this concept was brought by Aristotle, Plato's own student, and according to him, we shall not sugarcoat the situation. And those who believe in realism is called as realist, and realist kind of people tend to be pessimist and also being judgy about the situation that they are viewing at. Next, I'll be explaining on the founding father theory. For the first founding father is the traditional idealism, which is Plato. Plato has two different worlds, which is the one with unchanging ideas and the other one is with changed physical ideas. So according to Plato, idealism is where we see things or objects the way we want it to be. Take an example, whenever we see a situation or an object, our brain will immediately process those information as the way we see it as ideal. Take an example, whenever I think of a circle, my brain will immediately, the circle object that would seem ideal is a ball. But whenever I see a clock or a coin or a wheel, I would still say it as a circle, although it does not match to the ideal circle that I've been thinking about. The second founding father of idealism is the modern one, which is Woodrow Wilson. Who is Woodrow Wilson? Woodrow Wilson was the president of the United States of America who came out with the 14-point plans during the World War. According to him, they are able to stop the war without having any victory state if they decided to follow the 14-point plans. However, other states seem that plan as rather as the ideal plan instead of the idealist plan. This is because Woodrow Wilson does not want to compromise or discuss with other states to change the plan a bit. Because according to him or his brain or his mindset, for them to have no war, they need to have to stop the war. There shall not be any there shall not be any weakening state. However, that seems a bit impossible because in a war there must be or there will be a winning state in order for them to stop the war. So that is why some states call Woodrow Wilson's plan as the idealism plan instead of the realist plan.
As been introduced by my friend in the beginning of our presentation, idealism is an ideology that opposes war and aims to make international community rely on moral values and develop international law and institutions in ethical way. The word ideal is an idea of changing international community to an ideal world. We have heard 14 points by President Woodrow Wilson that designed as guideline for the rebuilding of the post-war world. Among the 14 points, we can see the pure idealism ideas being injected, such as open diplomacy, evocation of colonized territory, adjustment of boundaries, and establishment of allies. It is used for peace negotiation to end World War I and set an ideal world. But how about the other solution? In Allies, these 14 points accepted by France and Italy. Britain also signed off these 14 points except freedom of seas. We can see major acceptance by Central Powers, United States, and other countries. There are certain points that initiate international cooperation and modern idealism. As instance, on the first point for open diplomacy without secret treaties, a lot of open diplomacy been declared, such as Anglo-Malayan Defence Agreement (AMDA), whereby United Kingdom guarantee defence of our country. Secondly, on the second point for economic trade and freedom of seas, many economic treaties been declared, like Free Trade Agreement (FTA), in reducing and removing trade barriers and bring closer economic integration. But the main problem is idealism is only about ideas and ideals, whereby it is not to work well in politics. Politics deal with unethical way, and we need to face real politics. Second problem is it emphasizes on values that not absolute. Not everyone desire peace and negotiation ways in dealing with other countries. We need to remember that acquiring power is nature of human as stated by realists.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Shahab Yusri and I will proceed to you with the parties involved, which is League of Nations. The League of Nations was founded on President Woodrow Wilson's 40-point speech delivered in January 1918 as part of presentation detailing his proposal for peace following World War I's bloodshed. Wilson envisioned a body responsible with settling disputes before they became engaged in bloodshed and warfare. The main task of the League of Nations is to ensure that war would never happen again and to bring stability to the world. Wilson's proposal was integrated into the Treaty of Versailles and approved by other nations, but he was unable to persuade his own senators to support it. The League of Nations meant that America would have a voice in European affairs and European countries would have a voice in American affairs, which was in direct opposition to the Monroe Doctrine. Wilson was arrogant and reluctant to make any revision to the treaty, therefore it was not approved by the Senate. So the treaty was not ratified by Congress and United States refused to join the League of Nations. Wilson was naive to believe that the other countries would accept to his condition without question. Wilson had good intentions, but none of his plans could have succeeded since he refused to negotiate or compromise in order to serve the other countries. He was so focused on his 14-point plan and his vision of peace without victory that he failed to perceive things as they were, but rather how they could be. Wilson was an idealist in that he believed his ideas were realistic where they were just not. Next, we go to the international cooperation. Since World War II, the rise of international cooperation as an institutionalized practice by governments has become a significant feature of international relations due to the expansion of industrialization and modernity to dozens of nations that have integrated into a genuinely globalized world. International cooperation involves governments and institutions defining common values and plans that consider both advantages and issues and can possibly benefit more than one society if not rest of the world. For example, in the foreign policy reflects either the country's national interest or the value of its people at any particular period. The difficulties start when the two are combined or conflated. Trade, finance, education, health, job creation, science and technology, and the environment are all relevant issues on the international agenda, and they are all aspects of development that must be considered in light of the fact that the international context is a fundamental determining factor in this area. Idealism is a branch of liberalism that emphasizes the importance of governments pursuing moral ideas and acting morally in international affairs. Idealists argue that behavior that is unethical in interpersonal relationships is likewise unethical in foreign policy. The idealists believe that foreign policy should represent the country's ethical, moral, and philosophical principles. As a result, idealists think that dishonesty, manipulation, violence should be eliminated. Next, the idealism impacts to the international relations. First, idealists emphasize the ability of reason to overcome prejudice and oppose the intentions of malicious powers. They believe that strengthening democratic control of foreign policy as well as the advancement of education and democracy would strengthen worldwide public opinion and make it a powerful force that no government can withstand. Second, idealists underline the relevance of universal organizations like the League of Nations and the United Nations in mobilizing and organizing global public opinion. They argue that by using public methods, it will be able to remove crude power from international affairs. Third, idealists stress the presence of natural harmony of interest among all peoples, which lies underneath the surface conflicts of their nations or governments, where they acknowledge that various cultures have different codes of behavior, cultural norms, beliefs, habits, and tastes. They argue that humans are basically the same, regardless of their ethnic, socio-economic, cultural, or religious backgrounds. All people want the same things in terms of safety, well-being, recognition, and respect.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Wan Irsha Hakim, and today I'll be presenting to you about the advantages of idealism between the nations. The first advantages is it allows people to be more optimistic. Optimistic means that expecting the best possible outcome from any given situation. So the nations with high emphasis in perception can foresee the right things to do based on their idea to have a good decision making. So by having this concept of idealism, it allows the nation to choose which way they want to look at any given issue. And as you know, it is necessary for the nation relation as it enables to look at issues from both sides to gain a more thorough understanding regarding the issue. The second advantages of idealism is in terms of social advantages. So having a mind of idealists can enhance the growth of the nations to achieve more things that they have targeted. So this is to moving forward the society towards the next level in a positive way. So high idealists and standards between the nation relations will make society increase as a whole, and it can lead to the growth of technological, economic, and development. With the vision they have on the nations for the society, they can take on the leadership responsibility so that they can work together to allow them to enhance the culture, to strive for these values all together. Even though there are a lot of advantages of idealism, but there are disadvantages of idealism. So the first disadvantages of idealism is they rely too much on the ideas. So in general, we can say that the idealism believe that the material things are not real, as they only believe that the reality is mine, where we can see that this idealism concept is vice versa of the materialism concept. So so the idea that can't be interpreted will result to unfinished work, where that will become burden to the society. As we know, as times goes by, there are a lot of issues and disaster happening to us, like this pandemic COVID-19. So the idealism will feel that there are no solutions to this pandemic. So because they only rely on the idea that these things will not exist. The second disadvantages of idealism is perceptual variation. So things like death, soul, and mind, and this galaxy is not exist for them because it is not reality, and it is not relevant for them to exist. So it is also difficult because these all things cannot be perceived by sense. As we know, we cannot see how our soul are and how the galaxy look like, and due to that, because they are emphasized on the mind too much, and spiritually that may lead reality are being escaped rather than being solved. So this will lead to the issue between the nations that cannot be resolved, and there is no positive changes as there are no solution to the new issue that have been existed.
So, the idea that can be provided to ensure the initiative could be implemented and continue is the authority should be centralized and have capability in leading the relationship of nations as a whole. The authority here means that all nations have one international government for them. They are being responsible as the head power and have the trust from other nations to lead the system. To be a good leader, the decision-making of the government that are being chosen should be rational and relevant. The authority have the same ideology that can be concluded through discussion, and other nations must obey it. With this, war can be prevented and avoid unnecessary misunderstanding between the nations. This has to secure the peace as all nations have one international government to look out for. Next, the other idea is by introducing a policy that promotes fairness between the rich and the poor. In each country, the problem of poverty is difficult to overcome, so the traditional policy must be changed with the new one that have more equality. The purpose is to eradicate the domination of the rich and give a more opportunity to the poor. It is also to prevent the class bias between the rich and the poor. With this, it helps to fulfill the public interest as a whole and abroad regarding the issue. Moreover, this also gives full satisfaction to people as their voices are being heard as the government are trying their best in minimize the problem. That's all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, we can learn that idealism are also one of the important concepts that we can apply in our daily life. As we mentioned by my friends earlier, idealism emphasizes on the study of man more and more because man is endowed with higher intellectual powers and show greater level of intelligence and discrimination and by his own moral and spiritual activities that he has created. So as a students, we must believe that we have a great mind to works on our academic so that we can achieve a good result and then contribute to the people out there. That is all from us. Thank you.